it kept saying something, but I thought it did it, but it didn't.
Okay. All right. All right, so let's look at classroom design, just kind of closing up on 2, jumping into 3. Looking at classroom design, the educator presence, arrive early and greet our students, pre-assigned seating. How do you guys feel about pre-assigned seating?
I'm not really big on it. It doesn't matter to me. However they want to sit. It just
Yeah,
depends on if it's a conflict, though. You know.
yeah. I'm not. I feel like that can be a little elementary too.
Right.
Pre-assigned seating. So I'm like adults. They're in an adult environment, and
Mm.
you want them to feel that independence also. So I'm not going to kitty them, and give them a pre-assigned seat. But I do understand if there's a conflict or interest, pre-assigned seatings. Learning activities scheduled, motivational posters, and bulletin boards. So when we're talking about designing the classroom, you got to have something on the walls. Okay. You can actually have an accent wall, and that accent wall could be where you will put your bulletin board for the accent wall could be a totally different color. And that color could be like, it could motivate the classroom. So you can bring the class up in that color, or you can take the class down in that color. My accent wall will probably not be black. Because even though black has a sense of luxury, it also it's dark, and it could draw the class down. If I bring a color in, I want that color to liven up the classroom, not bring the class down. And just have a place where they're able to post job postings, and you're able to put job postings, class updates, different things going on in the community. It'd just be a board that everybody would pretty much reference, just to see what the updates and things like that are. Um, Definitely having an educator presence in the classroom, like literally wherever you're supposed to be, let's make sure we're there, because a lot of things can go on when the educator is not in the classroom. So in making sure that we are present, we are known to be around, and because we are supposed to be supervising them. So Tennessee says all service performed by students with instructor supervision. So we got to make sure we're supervising the classroom. Even though, yes, the course starts, just say your class starts at 9 and your class is out by 5. That doesn't mean at 9 o'clock the instructor walks through the door. So even though whatever your schedule says, and I've had that conflict before where it says, okay, you're hiring me and my interview was at 9 to 5. Okay, 9 to 5, but you have to anticipate that I need to be ready for them when they walk through. So I need some classroom time. So my schedule had to be modified from 8:30, to about 5:15, because you're the first one there and you're the last one to leave. Now, what can an educator do if they have 30 minutes to prep for their class? What are some of the things you think would be your duties if you got 30 minutes before your students come in? What do y'all think?
Oh, to get familiar with whatever you're teaching that day. Get familiar with the students that you're gonna have to present it to, the type of style that you're gonna have to use.
Mm-hmm. Any copies you got to make?
Yep.
Go ahead and make
Outs,
copies.
circular pictures, whatever graphs, what
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna use for your presentation.
Actually, that's it. If you're gonna do a video, make sure the video works. Go ahead and put the video in. Make sure you got chalk. Make sure you got your markers. Sign-in sheet. Make sure you got that. The biggest thing, make sure your temperature is at a good. If it's cold outside, make sure it's nice and warm when they come in. If you're gonna offer coffee, that's what I like to do when it gets cooler outside, is have a little coffee area, because most of the time, no matter what time it is, they'll come in and want coffee and hot chocolate, and had a little marshmallows and just different little things, and that says a whole lot um, about the class when they come in. They know that they're going to get some hot coffee, they're going to relax, and it'll take some of that edge off, especially if they come through traffic, whether it's the morning or the afternoon. It'll calm down. So definitely I'm thinking about having a tea area when it gets cooler, just different kinds of teas, some coffee, and maybe a hot chocolate stand, something of that nature, just to kind of freshen up from the chips and stuff like that. So having some little crackers or something. And so that's what we can do, is just make sure everything is good. Because if we're constantly running in and out the classroom, it looks like we're not prepared. So whatever time you need to be there, get everything done, especially if you're introducing a new subject. Okay. If you're doing an activity, sometimes we have to make out of our own pocket. And we'll say, sometimes the owners or the director say, give me the receipt, But if you're going to play a game, make sure you review those instructions and the instructions are clear. And you got all the materials for the game or the learning activity. So sometimes for me, like the strawberries and kiwi, I told them to bring it, but I knew somebody was going to bring it. So I brought strawberries and kiwi and got to school. Only one student had what they were supposed to have. So I was prepared. And so Monday, we're making rose toner, and I told them all to bring a rose. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna bring. I'm gonna make sure I have everything, because somebody is not gonna bring it. But also, I don't want them to incur any additional expenses on behalf of a learning activity. So I want to cut it down as much as possible, because I know for our school, it's a cash-based school. So other than their tuition, I really don't want them spending any additional money on school. So like snacks and stuff, that's I feel like the least that we could do. Um, Last night, um, I think we may have spent like $80 on those materials, but that's the least that we could do. Did they learn how to do something? They absolutely did. Did they get hands-on training? They absolutely did. And now we have a section of essential oils, and we have, if they know if anything going on with the client, mood regulators, they got something that they can go get that can kind of, calm their clients down, or make it real relaxing in the classroom and in the treatment room. They got that. The motivational posters, I gave them an assignment last night about, they had to learn about CBD and how it affects the hair, skin, or nails. And so they got to do a 5-page PowerPoint. And one of my students was like, oh my God, I don't know technology. I said, yes, you do. You keep telling me you don't, I'm going to keep giving you assignments. I said, you are too old to be scared of technology in 2024. And technology is just going to get more sophisticated, So I cannot let you leave without learning some technology. And I said, I can't believe, so just the basics has been good for her. But I said, no, I feel like I need to push her in that area. So gave her a website. I said, go on canva.com. It's easy. And you need 5 slides, and it's due Monday. They was like, what? I said, yeah, it's due Monday. And then the bulletin board, of course, people come all the time and want to hire my students. But this is what I think the industry, salon owners and suite owners don't understand. Number one, This is a new age. I am not sending my students to become booth renters. So you have to come to us with something else. We need to have benefits. Most of my students that come to me, they're already they already have bypassed suite ownership. They've had suites or they're in a suite. And so you got to make it look real good for them to leave their establishment to come work for you. So if you're just coming talking about $150 a week, they're saying, well, I could keep that $150 a week because I got blank, blank, blank. Do you do that? So it's like they have to come. And a young lady, I said, just put the stuff in the mailbox because we have a private class. And unless you have an appointment, we have limited time also. We're not able to give you an hour of time for you to talk about can they come and become booth renters. No, we're not doing that. This is everything is growing, everything is evolving. So salon owners, suite owners, you got to come with it if you want these students to be in your establishments. You're gonna have to have benefit packages, educational packages, the works. So those were, and the use of color. So let's look at these colors. I do have a presentation that talks about using color in the classroom. And so this is just color psychology also. So it says pale yellow to almond, it's non-irritating. Pale pink to light rose is soothing. Green is a sense of security, creativity. Green also says honesty, and green represents money. Blue, it relaxes, secretes tranquilizing hormones. And so what happens, it just kind of relaxes the client, builds a mood of just kind of chill. But blue also gives you loyalty. Orange agitates learners, but also, I don't know about agitates learners, but it's also like any warm colors like red, orange, or yellow, it is going to make them wake up and it's going to keep them busy. Now, it may keep them busy, like talkative busy. Okay. And so you may have to have something that soothes, something that balances those tones out. And so one thing that we were in a class learning color psychology, and the professor said, you never want orange, red, and yellow to be, you never see that in a dentist's office, a kid's dentist office. And we were like, why? You sure don't. You usually see some cool stuff. He was like, yeah, because it agitates, as they're saying here, it makes them hyper. And when they get back there in the dental chair, that hyperness plus them being scared or whatever you're going to do with their mouth kind of makes them unmanageable. Okay. So I'm like, okay. And so they want you to relax before going into the back of the dentist, to the dentist's office. And those colors are going to be more so, you will see greenery, you'll see violets, you'll see blues. And that is supposed to relax you before going to see the dentist, being called to the back. And I said, look at this. And of course, bright yellow excites, get the brain and body just starts to moving, starts to thinking. So sometimes people just need to be around some sunshine just to kind of get the moving. I know I love to be under an open light, sitting in the room with natural light coming through. If we're in a dark room, I must be asleep because I don't want, or we got a movie on. Other than that, I need some light. Let's bring some light into this situation. And then you look at purple, royalty, gold, luxury, white, purity. And so let me hear your favorite color or your favorite colors. If you could do an accent room in your classroom, one wall, You could paint one wall. What color would you paint it?
I like to go with blue, gray, and
Mm.
some soothing colors. Like blue and gray is like my favorite.
Okay. So yes. So without the students even knowing, you have already set a tone for relaxation, for calmness in the classroom simply by doing the blue. Miss Green, what color would you do? She's still on. She may be working in a salon. Um, I would do green.
Mm.
Um, I also would do two different things. Green because I like I would talk about money. I gotta bring some green into our classroom. I think I'm gonna do it with fake money. I think I'm gonna do it with fake money. Cause we used to have a thing where I had the money gun.
Mm-hmm.
And when the students because they finna get ready to have a social media project come up where they gotta make a video. And I'm gonna bring the money gun, like some little props, what they can use to make the video. I'm gonna bring the money gun back, but the money gun, oh, the students love the money gun because I don't know, they was loving the money gun, and I think it was some hot trend on social media. But I brought the money gun in to kind of build morale, to give the classroom some excitement. So on their break, they could take pictures or do like little videos. But that was part of the class. It kind of a balance. If I'm gonna have you sitting here and I'm gonna be teaching all this time, it's like I gotta give you some kind of something to have some fun with. So that
Mm.
was the money gun. But I will also do a wall of sunflowers.
Mm.
And the wall of sunflower, or I have a big sunflower on the wall. The sunflower, uh, my friends, I have two friends, and I call them my sunflower sisters. And whenever we go see each other, we always bring sunflowers. Um, Once in Alabama, once in Arkansas. And whenever I see them, I always bring snacks and sunflower. And the sunflower story goes, when the sunflower, they grow together. And when one is missing nutrients and light, it'll start drawing down, like the petals will start folding down. And then the one next to it will turn and expose itself to the one going down, and it'll pull energy from the one next to it, and it'll start coming back up.
Mm.
And so we call it Sunflower Sisters. So that's our flower as a friend group. When one is down, the other one um, will, will just commit to just kind of whatever I need to do to bring her spirit up.
I love that.
Yeah, and so that's a sunflower. But that flower has a lot of history. So I would probably bring a sunflower and just have a sunflower on the wall, and use that as a story of motivation. And
Mm-hmm.
it'll be just a place that students could just maybe take a picture at, or put a nice quote on the wall by the sunflower. And that just be, a motivational piece right there. So the use of color, it's a lot of psychology that we can use in the classrooms, and that just makes our classroom better. The seating arrangements, U-shaped table, circles. I do like circles. I have had U-shaped tables where I would teach. Um, just I like to walk around, so I would walk across the front and walk in the middle. I'll be able to see all students. I also like the round shape where I will walk around and write on different parts of the wall. Right now, we pulled the desk, instead of the desk being all around the wall, I pulled them to the middle. And so all the students are now facing, two by two by two in the middle, and the perimeter of the walls are clean.
Mm.
That's just because I wanted them to all come together. and I sat at the end of the table, so we all pretty much were just in our little circle.
Mm-hmm.
And that was working for us. The boardroom style and semicircle, okay, both of these are sitting styles, where you and the teachers, you can walk into a classroom and you can say, okay, I need to make a even flow where all the students are able to see the board, all the students are able to see me. And based on the size of your classroom is what you'll choose to have your seating arrangement. And then there's a traditional classroom, and then there's a chevron. So the chevron, the tables are shifted, and I do like that where you could just walk through the middle. And then there's a traditional classroom. But here's the traditional classroom setting could get boring, all right, for the students and also for the teachers. So for me, I don't like boring. I will change my classroom around just to kind of surprise them, get some different bodies in different places. When it comes to seating arrangements, you can do theater style, amphitheater style. Most of the time, if you do have the elevated floors, like a theater, that'll be fine. But I like the amphitheater style because it circulates. Okay. It's like it gives this semicircle and I'm able to see the students. So normally when I'm teaching in at a show, you'll have theater style. But I love an amphitheater style where you can, and if there's a projected stage, I can see everybody. And then everybody can see me as well. The seating around half rounds. This is good if we are going to do games and we have to work in teams. So you will have a table, it'll be table 1, 2, 3, 4, or you can tell that table you are a team, give yourself a team name. So you give them as much independence as possible. And then that team name sits in the middle of that table. And that table becomes a team. And every week you can switch the team or you can switch the tables, um, however you want to do it. And it'll also break up best friend cliques. So if you need to break a clique up in the classroom, you can do that by pre-assigning certain people to be team leaders of certain tables. And then they pull names from a hat and randomly we just made new teams.
Mm-hmm.
The practical classroom, special needs accessibility. So if you have someone, when we talk about special needs, it's not always individuals who are in a wheelchair or have difficulty walking. Special needs when it comes to maybe standing ability, seeing, and hearing. Okay, so I have a friend of mine, she's preparing to open up the first, I believe it's the first from my research, hearing impaired beauty school.
Mm-hmm.
And so that school is going to consist of majorly sign language. And I'm so excited for her. So she has found a space for individuals with that particular special need to still give them education. And so think about your classroom. Are there any difficulties? Are there any step ups, step downs? Do you need to put any signs here? Do you have individuals that can't see, can't talk? So it just depends. Make sure you have a camp signage and make sure you think about those individuals with those special needs. And you want to make it easy and for them to get around. So you definitely have to set up the classroom, especially if that person's in a wheelchair. You're probably not going to do that traditional aisle way. You're going to have to do something that's going to allow for their chair to kind of maneuver around. Your lab stations, okay, your practical area. I've seen this in horseshoe. I've seen this, a board against the wall. I've seen all of them get at the table. So wherever they sit at, it can also be their practical area. making sure you have the equipment that you need. Okay, new students come in. Do you have the mannequins? Do you have the stands? You know, new students may not get a kit in their first month. So do you have enough equipment that they can still work and not be left out? So making sure you have that equipment and you're updating. We actually got a kit. They'll actually get their kits, I think, at maybe in 2 weeks. So we'll be doing kits in about 2 weeks. Um, and then also when it comes to supplies, policies and procedures, exit, emergencies. So you know, even if you got to do a walkthrough, if in case of emergency, what do we do? Learning facilities checklist. Okay. And so pretty much just doing a walkthrough, same thing we do with sanitation, but just having a checklist of the building. So if they need the tour of the building, this is the bathroom. This is the where the teachers are. This is our break area. So it's just a learning facilities checklist. Teaching materials. So we're there early. We got to make sure we got everything we need. Our relevance. Sometimes, even on working when I go to the show, I like to bring back information that I know some people that couldn't go, now they have the information. And so sometimes I bring back pamphlets, books, but when it's time to teach, um, the old way of the old VHS videos, it ain't gonna be received how it is now. Now we just go on a little streaming app and we can click the TV and it's supposed to play. So we need to have some, when it comes to technology and materials, relevant materials. A lot of times they use Pinterest and for pictures, and you also can look at Instagram, TikTok, things like that, how-to videos, and mostly they use YouTube. And so your teaching has to move into the 2024. And now we're moving into 2025. So your teaching cannot be so outdated. It's going to lose your students. And then the student level, wherever that student is, I'm supposed to match them and bring them up. I'm supposed to bring them up. Sometimes we could say words that sound good and make us feel good, but if the students don't understand it, we ain't done nothing. So it's not saying we have to stoop to their level, but we are not there to make them feel like they are itty bitty small. So if we're saying terms and words, we say it and then we can explain it. Sometimes I hear teachers say words, it go right over students' head because they're like, that was too big. I ain't gonna even try to pronounce it. And I'm just like, what are we doing? If I say a word, I'm also going to break it down to where they can understand. But then I'm going to ask them to repeat the word. Somebody go look it up. What does it mean? And now I'm bringing them up. Okay. And so when it comes to student level, finding out where they are and then bringing them up to where they need to be. How do I do this? Most of the time, I ask them, how do they learn? Tell me what you do to study. And that helps me learn my students and figure out how easy it is for them to absorb information. And by asking those questions, it gives the students an opportunity to ask for help, to say, hey, yeah, I need help in this area. And as I'm teaching, um, even though I may just say I'm teaching finger waves, I have those students that just want to see it. Great. But even I do have those students that want me to explain it. I have those students that say, I need the steps. I need to put my hands in it. So if I'm teaching finger waves, I'm gonna make sure I show it, I'll make sure I explain it well, I'll make sure I give them the steps, and I'll make sure I say next. After this step 3, because you will have mathematical learners, people who they do good on to-do lists. You can just give them a project and then come back and it'll be done. So you will need as an instructor to make sure that they know that procedure. This is why sometimes I'm constantly asking them to walk me through it, because I have to identify the area that they are missing in order to teach them the correct way. And if they don't understand what they're doing, they're just not ready to perform it on a client. You got to keep working on students. Then the timeliness, okay, you can put on the board, this what time class start, this is the break time, and this what time we sanitation, and then we exit to leave, okay, for home. So have your time together. And it's sometimes your subjects, you only have a short time to go over them. And you'll find students that want you to keep going back. You said tomorrow we'll have more time, we'll jump back on there. Today we got to stay on schedule. So author and publisher credibility, the information that you bring, definitely share where you got it from. And most of the time, it'll probably be their textbooks. But if you're bringing something in, just drop the resource so they'll know if they have to go back to it, they'll be able to find it. Organization and layout. So when it comes to teaching material, we're talking about organization and layout. If I am teaching hair cutting, the first day, I am not going to jump to a layer haircut. The first day, I'm going to start talking about, I'm going to put some tools. We're going to go over tools. I'm going to talk about the comb, I'm going to talk about the shear, I'm going to talk about the razor, and I may have them get in a circle, and I may have them take the shears and open and close, open and close. So I need to train them on how to use these tools before they move into haircutting. Textbook evaluation checklist. So pretty much the objectives, making sure that we have went through all the objectives. And when you talk about textbook evaluation checklist, the chapters, the workbooks, making sure it's consistent continuously. We also use a lot of SEMA, so making sure we go through those bullet points as well on the electronic textbooks. When you look at teaching materials and example of an effectively designed textbook page, notice with the materials, we have all of those materials right here in the front, and then you have the textbook, okay? Mm-hmm. Administrative responsibilities. As an educator, yes, we are there to teach, but we also have to keep record, and we work hand in hand with those individuals that do our hours, those individuals that do the enrollment. So we got to make sure we have accurate records, attendance. You record the grades, that you do your lesson plans, you do academic advising, and I had a talk with someone the other day, and he was having a meeting with his team, and somebody has gotten all the way to the end without an academic advising. So now we're shaking our boots because we don't know if this student know it to go to state board. Somebody dropped the ball. So the teacher was teaching, but they didn't do the administrative side. They didn't record the grades. They didn't tell them how well they were doing, whether they were doing good or doing bad. And we're about to come up on, at the end of the month, we're about to come up on our advising as well. And so if you guys are coming in a building, when you come in a building, I'm going to make you a part of that evaluation so you can sit down with me with a couple of students individually, and we can talk about their progress. This is where we talk about things they need to improve on. This is where we talk about things. We ask them, do you need any help on anything? This is where we have those conversations. And a lot of times you got to have these, if not every 2 weeks, once a month. Once a month, especially our update time. Have them once a month so you can stay on the right page. Um, and you student surveys, student can do the surveys. We have students do the surveys before they graduate, but you can get a student surveys at any time to see how well you're doing. Are there any improvements? And we can really take heed to what they have to say. Advisory council meetings. So you guys may be asked to be on our advisory board. If you were asked to be on our advisory board, that means I'm coming to you, presenting our program to you, and I want you to tell me, are there any areas that need improvement? Because you guys will be in the industry, I would expect you to give me insight of what I need to prepare for. Should I be doing this different? So that's the advisory council meetings. It will be a group of professionals that are on our advisory board that have a say in how we prepare and train our students. Facility reports, just overall building, yes for the building, no for the building, what do you like about the building? For me, I love our space. It's small. I love our space. And so for me, I am looking for the first of the year and asking God to just give me an additional space where I can put Cosmo in their own space. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Cosmo will be in their own space and we could have a clinic floor just for Cosmo. And then that building that we're at now could be just for aesthetics. And
Mm-hmm.
so we'll be able to maneuver, may have two classes going on at one time, who knows, but or two treatment room areas. So just very exciting for that. And then continuing education. That's we went to the show, we learned, we sat in classrooms. And I actually sat in a classroom called they had me and Miss Kansas sat in a facilitation classroom. The lady who was teaching you how to be more comfortable speaking in front of people. And so I think teachers need that as well. So we sat in that class for a good little minute. So that was continuing education. So although you get your license, go back and continue to train yourself, continue to learn because you'll need it for where you're going. When we're welcoming new students, it's the first day of class, sets the stage and the mood for the remainder of the course. So you want to be welcoming, you want to have a smile, you want to have great tone, you want to do something fun on that day. Sometimes our first day is our orientation day, so it may be a little light, and then we'll start to build up things as you go along. Okay. As we prepare to close out, preparation and organization is required prior to the start of classes. So we don't want them walking in and we're still trying to get it together. Educators must maintain current knowledge relative to the field of study, which means you never stop learning. As cosmetology, you're like, man, it's a whole lot of information. I started out as a cosmetologist. My thing was weaves and hair care. Boom. And I said, you can get so much of that. I want to move on to the next thing. It was okay. Now, Destiny, go and learn skincare, learn as much as I could. Then it was go and learn nails because I knew somewhere in my 25 years, I was going to have to teach these. And I have taught all of them. And as a cosmetology educator, when you get that license, it says you can teach all of it. And so I'm going to challenge you not to get stuck in what you like, but explore these other things because you want to be ready when it's time for you to teach those. And so I do offer continuing education for the state of Tennessee. And pretty much it is in teaching methodologies where I'm teaching teachers or refreshing teachers on how to teach. And simply what I give you 2 days out of the week, that's just what I'm giving that particular group of people every November at the end of the year. Okay. And then educators must maintain current knowledge relative to the field of study. Work habits must be developed to ensure that administrative tasks is accurate and timely, which means when you say you'll do it tomorrow, get it done now because tomorrow can end up being another tomorrow and another tomorrow. Okay, so making sure those lesson plans are done. And right now, Miss Candace, I include hours for the Cosmo to prepare. So they're not teaching, they of course they get paid to teach, and then she gets supplemental hours for planning. And that was intentional. So I want to make sure, yes, you're getting paid for it. So I want to see it. I want it produced. Okay. And classroom must be safe and motivating. So you want to make the classroom safe and motivating. All right. Um, and when I say safe, I always will say this is a safe space, mentally conditioning for behavior, but also tell them don't have your kid way out in the floor where somebody could trip over it. You need to have your stuff right next to you. It needs to be a clear walking aisle, things of that nature. And also motivating, putting the quote of the day, and then having a small discussion about it gets everybody ramped up. Okay, bringing everything together. In retrospect, yes, we list the benefits and results of effective organization and teacher preparation. We also listed the characteristics that are common among our adult learners, and setting goals and evaluating the administrative tasks required by the educator. So here's the thing. Yes, you teach. And that's the thing with educators. Some educators are very visual, so they like the hands-on practical, but they don't like the office work. But the office work needs to match what you know in the classroom. Okay, so it's just going to be a given. So you will have administrative work that has to be done. And we just completed chapter 2. So kudos, guys. That was amazing. That was amazing. We into chapter 2. Um, and then looking at chapter 3, teaching, study, and testing skills. This is going to be one of those. This is why I ask questions about how they learn. I'm taking note every time I ask those questions because it's going to help me teach them. And you could take everything that these books say, but if it does not apply to your group of people, it's doing no good. That's why I have to ask them how they learn. And then I'm going to take what I know and I'm going to make sure I give it to them the way that they learn. That's the only way for them to retain the information. If you give it to them something that's foreign without pulling them in, it goes over their head. They never understand it. Okay. And so teaching and testing skills is going to be our key component. Master educators know that character is shaped by learning, so they help shape a student's character by acting as a learning catalyst. Here are goals: list and explain reading skills. Now, list and explain reading skills. Let me say this to my instructor trainees. And I'm going to be totally honest. The one way to lose me or for me to pull you out of a classroom is if you read out of a book. The students can read. The students can read. They're looking for a teacher to teach them, not to show them, not to read to them. This is not story time. These are adults. And so sometimes, how do I know you're not prepared for the class when you're supposed to be prepared? You open that book and read word for word. Not to say you need to know the whole book, but this is where lesson plans come in. This is where your personal study time come in. I'm not paying anyone to study. This is where your personal study time come in. Okay. This is where when you do your lesson plans, if you're there early enough, you can prepare your classroom by putting your notes on the board. And for me, I like to walk around. I will have notes on my board and I will have my own study time. So I'm studying what the students are reading, but also I'm studying how I'm going to what I need to teach them as well. So I could take it from point to point to point without even making opening up the book. But that's just simply because I study and I already read a lot. Nobody has to tell me to do that. That is going to be a part of our job. But no one wants the teacher to read to them word for word. Okay. So even you don't want me to read to you word for word. Okay. So the students don't want it. And I think that's a misconception. Many people think they can come in and they can just read it, or that's fine. But you're going to have to be able to learn how to bounce off of those words. Okay. Take them off the paper and make them real to the students by your experience, and then pulling other relevant information together. You may get it from books, you may get notes and tips from other areas, do handouts. But yeah, we're going to listen, explain the reading skills, but we are not going to read to them word for word. Um, you also cannot call on students to read. Anybody know why? We cannot call on students to read.
Some of them can't read, right?
There you go. That's it. Literacy is a major problem. And you would think, okay, y'all had to go through school before you even get to this level. But some of them have been pushed through.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a lot of adults that have been pushed through. They finish high school with a diploma, but they cannot read. And so when it comes to the Department of Education says we cannot force students to read. And so when you have it as, okay, you read this part, you read this part, you read this part, we cannot do that. Students have to volunteer to read. You can say, are there any volunteers? And then if it's not, it's up to the teacher to move on. You got to pick that up and keep it moving, because we cannot. It has been students have left school because they were embarrassed. Not this school, but other schools that I went to, they left schools because it's been embarrassed and it's been highlighted that they have a reading problem, or they were mocked by the teacher or mocked by the classmates. And so legally, we cannot ask the students to read. We can ask for volunteers. Then we're going to list keynote taking and highlighting skills. So mainly teaching the students how to study, explain 15 strategies for effective studying, avoid 5 failure habits, and then we're going to identify key elements in developing a study group and explain the importance of training students in test-wise strategies. All of these are our objectives for this particular chapter. And definitely as a master educator, you guys can start, you need to hear yourself as master educator. Okay, master educator. That's where you are growing towards becoming a master educator. And so learning this helps you identify how a student should test, how well they should do on their test. Because you'll find somebody in your classroom with challenges. And so if you can give them tips on how to study, that is going to be essential. Okay. With this here, we can take a picture or we can highlight the support system. Okay. As an educator, based on what we set up, okay, that's going to help them test and help them learn as well. The color on the wall, the things we have on the table for them to touch, the pressure balls, the building blocks, all of those help. And when you have someone who we call kinesthetic, this person is listening to you, they're taking it in, but they got to touch something. This is why sometimes they have the phones out and things of that nature. But when you have those little things on the table, they can touch those, they can squeeze the balls, and they could tell you what you just said, and you would think they wasn't even paying attention. But it's a learning mechanism. And so many individuals, they have to have something in their hands as they if they retain the information. Also, a lot of our students could be rhythm learners, which means they learn with sound. They learn better. They feel better in the classroom when there's sound, when there's music, when there's a beat, there's a pattern of symbols or something. And so I would like to keep, this is why I like having music in the classroom. I like to keep a light beat, and then you can have your students create a playlist. Everybody put their song in, and that will be their playlist. And we'll probably do this Wednesday of next week. We'll create a playlist for the classroom. And this is how some people get their study on. They groove a little bit. And you may be asking your kids, how are you studying with those earphones on? That music is allowing those words to jump off paper and to be retained in their head. So you can identify your own kids as rhythm learners, and in your classroom as rhythm learners. They will learn. This is why you keep a little music on. They will learn because there's a tempo in the classroom. So we have to teach many different styles in the classroom. So if you cut the music on, if you do a demo and you do a lecture, you're touching 3 different learning styles. Don't open the door, don't open the window and let sunlight come in. Now you're triggering that person who adores outside, that likes being outside, with bare feet, sitting up on the tree. Now you have pulled that student's interest in as well. So we got to learn how to, whatever we do, it's for a purpose, and it's to increase that student's learning. Eliminate distractions. What could be a distraction in the classroom? What do you guys think? What could be distractions in the classroom?
Cell phone.
Cell phones. So we know we're not getting rid of them. So we need to come up with something, not doing lecture, not in the treatment room. Y'all gonna have 15 minutes of cell phone time. Go on your break, look it up, okay? Or if they have the phone, tell them they got to do assignments, do them a lot of research or something. But the cell phone's gonna be a distraction. You know what's up? What else? People coming in and out your doors. Like, wait till my class is over. The door going opening in and closing could be a distraction. A irritating noise, somebody hollering or screaming. Distractions. Think about it. Distractions. The classroom not having an even flow. Those could be distractions. We want to eliminate those distractions. Establish the priorities. What's the first things first? Classroom rules. First things first in the classroom. And so that's something we need to always think about. Communicating with educators. Okay. Yeah, find a way to touch them, find a way to communicate with them and your coworkers. Motivate and encourage the learner. The learner is the student. How do I do that? I put a quote on the board. I discuss it. I may ask the student to give me a motivational topic. I may ask them to take their phones out and find 5 motivators. And I may have them fill up a whole board for a whole week. All right, everybody, 5 affirmations. Okay, I may have them, 1 person a day or 5 people a day to say their affirmation. Okay, that really establishes and uplifts the class, motivation, and the students are encouraged. And I always add something money related. I always add something that when you get this license, you'll be able to do this. Because I want them to constantly think about, I can't do that until I get this license. I gotta go test. I gotta get this license. So getting them involved, being a role model, which means we don't party yardy with the students. I've learned my lesson a long time ago. You don't party with the students. You keep, and this is another reason why on our field trip, I didn't really socialize with the student on the field trip because I did not want to blur the lines of educator student. And yes, we are all adults, but I still, when it comes time for me to probably not so much use the word discipline, but regulate, that's not a good word either. I still want to be known as the teacher. I don't want to cross the line. I don't want to blur the line where I'm her friend. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm the teacher, and I choose not to fraternize with my students outside of the school. And that's going to be very important because as a classroom leader, you're seeing the director, your coworkers are expecting you to stand up to the plate. But what if you gotten so friendly, your word ain't nothing no more. You can't stand up to the plate because they don't respect you as that they've seen too much.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to, and my student has said she felt some type of way. Well, I'm sorry. At the end of the day, um, we have to make sure these boundaries are established and then they stay right there. I'm going to be friendly with you. I'm going to hang with you. I'm going to see you at the show. I'm going to check up on you. But we might even go to dinner, but we have to definitely separate. We'll definitely be separated because I want to keep those boundaries. And once you graduate and like kindred spirits, yeah, we may get a little closer. And not to say unapproachable or anything like that, but I just want to keep teacher-student relationships the way they are. And positive reinforcement. And we can do that. If we keep student-teacher relationships, we can positively reinforce without the student feeling like that they have a privilege or that, oh, you can't tell me nothing, type of thing. And be a realist. I don't want to be superficial. I'm gonna tell them exactly how it is. This thing is hard work. You gotta be prepared for it. If this is what you want, you can get it. So be a realist about the situations. Looking at their reading skills, and in about 5 minutes we're going to prepare to close, and we'll pick back up on 3. Well, I would say continue to read chapter 3, look at the slides, and we'll pick back up on it on Tuesday. With the reading skills, time allotment, skim first, have references handy, use concept connectors, reread, and evaluate. So I find a lot with the reading skills is teaching students how to read. And not just reading like elementary, but how to read the question, how to understand the question. So the reading and studying is going to be something that you actually got to teach your students how to do. So we talk about multiple choice, and then there's A, B, C, D. Last week, I was telling them whenever you see the word but, go back and read the first part. Whenever you see the word but, go back and read the first part because that's probably what the question is asking. When you see A, B, C, and D, before saying your answer, eliminate the 2 you know are wrong. And so that's our contribution, is to show them how to read and how to test, because no one may have never told them about the process of elimination. And for us, if you know your terms, you will know the answers. So yeah, go over the reading skills, underlining and highlighting when they're in their books, handouts, and for our students has handouts and PowerPoints, and they have ebooks. Highlight, make a reference, take a picture, go back, okay, and highlight in different colors because that simply says, okay, these are the key areas I need to study. And you need to make sure there's a meaning for everything. I'm a note taker. I don't know about anybody else, but I can listen, but I'm writing at the same time. By me writing, I can go back and read and study those notes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes students like to ask if they can record. That's fine. in some cases. All right. So in college, sometimes they allow you to record, sometimes they won't. But if you're recording, 9 times out of 10, you can go back and listen to those. But I like to take notes. I'm a note taker person, and I like to get clarity. Um, and then I like to put my notes in order. So I have tons of notebooks, and I get that from my mom. That's
Mm-hmm.
one thing I definitely get from my mom. She's a note taker. Um, and just look at note taking skills. So I think in the binders, it was a mind map. If you don't have it, Miss Green, I can get it for you. But it's a mind map. So we'll put the subject in the middle and then we'll draw all the information around it. And so I may do a mind mapping in class on Monday and I do it on Wednesday so you can see it. The mind mapping helps the students break down what everything about that subject. So I tell them, here's the subject. Everything in your brain that you know about that subject, draw, go ahead and put it around the mind map. I'm just pulling information that they've retrieved out, and then we start to break it down. We just have to find a different way of teaching. And a lot of times it's not straight out of the book. And I don't ask students to memorize anything, but I need them to know that they know what they're doing. They know what they're talking about. And if you can understand some of these techniques, then when you go back and read for yourself, you'll be able to put two and two together. So that's what I have. So we're going to pause right there for today. You're going to continue chapter 3. And I see you in class next week. We'll be back on Zoom on Tuesday, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a blessed one.
You too, bye.